It's been a while since I counted down my top 5 loved and hated character weapon combinations, and now it's time to have a look at the unique special attacks each weapon has to annihilate tons of dudes. I was originally going to do this mainly focusing on how many dudes you can kill with the special attack, and if it's any good at depleting a boss's weak point, but as I tested them, most were pretty competent at targeting crowds, so it was really difficult to actually have 5 loved and hated special attacks. In the end, I decided to say sod it, let's also include how awesome they look, and then I struggled again because a lot of them are awesome. I'm still going to limit it to each character only being able to appear in each list once, and I eventually managed to complete both lists. As always, I'll be counting in reverse order, alternating between loved and hated, and don't forget, this is purely my opinion. Here we go! Ravio's Rental Hammer. Ravio is one of the most recent additions to the game, and I'd forgotten how good he is. Probably should have given him an honourable mention in the characters video, but at least I can talk about how good he is now, especially his special attack. He uses bomb arrows, which is sweet in itself, but once they've gone boom, he uses the boomerang to create 2 tornadoes, which drags enemies into the mix before ruining them all. It covers a pretty big area in front of Ravio, so you'll easily be able to catch a large mob of enemies in the chaos, and it has several hits, so it's not too bad at reducing a boss's weak point. It may not be the most awe-inspiring special attack, but all in all, it does its job very well. Young Link's Mask. I was going to put Young Link as a dishonourable mention, but wanted to clarify why he's here, so I've put him on the list. Don't get me wrong, his special attack in itself is perfectly fine, putting on the Fierce Deity mask, doing a few spins, and slicing up anyone that happens to be nearby. It's okay, perfectly serviceable as a special attack, but that's the problem. Young Link has another way to put the special attack energy to better use, as he can convert it into magic for Focus Spirit. It's probably a fine line between what's more useful, but considering how much more powerful Young Link is once he's transformed into Fierce Deity Link for the Focus Spirit, and the fact that his special attack is only meh, it makes it an easy decision that I'd rather spend more time in Focus Spirit, which makes his special attack completely useless. Maybe that's why they gave him a not so good special attack, because they want you to use Focus Spirit more. I don't know, but either way, if his special attack was really effective and worth using, it would make it a much harder decision whether to use a powerful special attack or Focus Spirit, but as it is, he might as well not have a special attack, seeing as the power can be put to much better use. Impa's Naginata. In the very first loved and hated Hyrule Warriors weapons list, I not only mispronounced the Naginata, but I also mentioned it had one of my favourite special attacks, and it still does. This is mainly because of how freaking awesome it looks, but it also has very good range, so you can catch a lot of enemies in the chaos. It doesn't do very well against a boss's weak point, but it's still great having the Naginatas rise up and slam down on it. The Naginatas that come out off the ground match the one that you're using, which is a nice touch. It's great running up to a group of enemies using the special attack on them, and I can just imagine what runs through their minds as they see the Naginatas rise out of the ground, knowing full well what's about to happen. Marin's Bell. Marin got a dishonourable mention in my updated loved and hated characters list, and that was because I find the bell being constantly rung to be really annoying. One of my mates says Tingle making his noise as he runs along to be annoying, and while it can get a bit grating, it's not as loud as the bell, so to me it's a lot harder to shut out the bell, to the point I normally mute the TV when playing as her. When it comes to Marin's special attack, she rings the bell quite a few times to call down the Windfish and flatten anyone in front of her. It's okay as a special attack by itself, the Windfish can get a decent number of enemies, but having to listen to that damn bell so much during battle to then have her waggle it even more for the special attack gets right on my back. To be honest, I only had 3 special attacks chosen that I really didn't like, then had Young Link so I could explain about him, but couldn't then decide on the last one, and no special attack was bad enough to warrant being placed here, so I went with Marin because her bell annoys me so much, so I guess she's kind of here by default. Wizzro's Ring. I had Wizzro in my updated characters list as he has some great combos, but his special attack covers a huge area surrounding him, so if he gets swamped by a horde, it'll easily get rid of them. It starts off with Wizzro summoning a large area of dark energy and dark spirit monster things bouncing everyone around. The energy then gathers into an orb and explodes, which seems to even get enemies outside of the initial dark energy area. Again, this isn't a special attack that can be used effectively against a boss's weak point, but as Wizzro has combos which are super effective in that area, it's not really needed in that manner, so can be saved for its main use of obliterating the crowds, which is something it does very well. Darunia's Hammer. Darunia may be a bit on the slow side, but his brute strength makes up for it, and if you give him hasty attacks, he's proper awesome, but his special attack lets him down. It sounds okay, slamming the hammer down 3 times while walking along, and then doing a 4th slam which causes an explosion, but not only does it look a tad naff, it doesn't have much range, so you won't be getting that many enemies caught in it either. I guess having 4 strikes means it's a bit better than most at sorting out a boss's weak point, but even so, it's not effective enough to make up for the rest of it. His weak point smash is pretty awesome, and it's one of those that just seems rather painful, but his special attack doesn't follow suit. Sia's Scepter. I also had Sia in my updated loved and hated characters list due to her having some great abilities that affect large groups of enemies, and mentioned her special attack also being extremely useful. She creates multiple pools of energy that erupt in turn. The area covered by the pools is fairly large, so you can easily catch a lot of enemies in it, but due to the pools erupting at different times, it can cause enemies to be hit multiple times, so even captains can be killed. This also makes it reasonably effective against bosses at getting their weak point down, though like Wizzro, Sia has other moves that can do the job better, so it's not really needed. It may not have as much range as Wizzro's, but it's pretty close, and it has the added bonus of effectiveness against captains. I even love the way she floats into the air and yells, as though she's putting every bit of strength she has into doing it, and it all makes this special attack one of my favourites. Medli's Rito Harp. Another character I talked about in my characters video, and Medli is a sweet character I really wanted to like, but she has several problems, one of which is her special attack. She traps enemies in a wind orb and then dive bombs them, which sounds like it could be good, but it doesn't have a particularly large effective range. It's not difficult to aim, and anyone struck while making the wind orb gets caught in it, but anyone not within a few feet of Medli and the orb aren't affected, so you can have masses of enemies but miss the majority of them. I love the brief dizziness scene after the dive bomb, which is a great nod to the Wind Waker, but it's not enough to make up for the poor performance of the special attack itself. Before revealing my most loved special attack, here are some honourable mentions. Lana's Book of Sorcery. I love Lana. With her Book of Sorcery, she has been my favourite character for quite some time for multiple reasons. As much as her summoning gate is really awkward to use, its special attack is pretty good as it has some decent range, but I still much prefer the special attack for the Book of Sorcery. It may not have quite as much range as the Gate's special attack or other people's special attack, but it still covers a decent distance and is more effective against those that do get caught in it. Lana makes 6 walls appear which she jumps between and then closes the book to make them explode in order, which, like Sia's special attack, if an enemy isn't killed outright, they can be hit multiple times, so will probably end up biting the dust anyway. Granted, you may need to aim it slightly to make sure a captain is in the right place so they get the full effect of the special attack, but that's not especially difficult, and even if you're slightly off, they'll probably end up dead or close to it. It's also good with the bosses, but she also has regular combos that can do the job really well, so it's pretty much a case of whatever the situation, this special attack will do you proud and look awesome while doing it. Before revealing my most hated special attack, here are some dishonourable mentions. Volga's Spear. When I started thinking of who I would have in the hated list, the first person I thought of was Volga. He's a great character with some awesome moves, but his special attack is really disappointing in every aspect. It sounds okay, he charges forward with his spear, damaging any enemy in his way, and while its forward range is alright, its width is very small, so it's very difficult to get a decent number of enemies with it. Even if a load of enemies are nicely lined up, you'll still end up only getting a handful of them. It's poor for bosses as well, because if you use it on them, not only does it do very little against a weak point, but you'll most likely end up a distance away from the boss, so you'll have to waste time going back over to it. It's also rather dull to watch, so I can't even give it a few bonus points for that. In terms of an offensive ability to lay the smackdown on your enemies, it fails dismally on every aspect. And that's my list. This is just my opinion, so be nice and don't forget to let me know what your top 5 loved and hated special attacks are. Not entirely sure what will be the next video in the Hyrule Warriors series, maybe I'll go for Final Blow, but until then, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.